Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of The Inquisitor. Today we'll be joined by two giants in the technology industry, two captains of industry, two visionaries in the technology industry in Nigeria, two very well-known names. We'll be joined by Ifeanyi Akosionu, who's the CEO of Inc. Nigeria and Anglophone West Africa, as well as the CEO, Chief Executive of Medallion or Digital Reality, Ikechukwu Nnamani, who will be joining us to explore different topics around the technology space in Nigeria, the impact of everything from data centers to artificial intelligence. So stay tuned for a very exciting episode of The Inquisitor. So Ifeanyi, how has Inc. Nigeria been able to help businesses in this journey for digital transformation and business continuity using technology?
I think for Inc. Nigeria, digital transformation is very pivotal to what we do, right? It's pivotal to the growth of the ecosystem in general. As a business, that's something that we really like to pride ourselves about. And I think the main thing the main ways that we have been able to help businesses out is just by being very inquisitive about the things that are driving businesses of today, and also looking at future trends, where the world is going. When you look at things surrounding automation, whether we are talking about the private sector or the public sector, just essentially focusing on the ease of doing business. And also working with our partners, our suppliers, our customers, and the entire ecosystem. Trying to find out exactly what are the critical digital or technology pain points and what are the solutions. I mean, these solutions are various, when you look at, cloud services or hosting or Internet of Things, and how we've been able to, as a business, just be focused on bringing technology systems together, architecting them in ways that not a lot of businesses are able to do. I think that a lot of our partners have come back to us to say that this is one thing that they've been able to rely on us to help them deliver. And I think that's something that we're definitely going to, look forward to the future and continue to do. Continue to take lessons and take learnings from our partners like Medallion, for instance, and Digital Reality. And, hopefully make this something that is a hallmark of our business going forward.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Speaking about digital transformation now, Ike, how does a data center like Medallion support digital transformation, support partners like Inc. in delivering this digital transformation to countries, not only in Nigeria, but all around Africa, especially at these times of economic, some will call it crisis, or economic challenges, especially within that developing country and the African continent?
Yeah, thanks. So if you check the traditional roles of a carrier-neutral data center, like the ones we operate, is one, you build a marketplace where multiple providers are able to come together in a common environment and share infrastructure, right? So, but they are not just sharing the infrastructure on a individual basis, but the ability for them to connect, exchange business, exchange traffic, right, within the same environment becomes very critical to service provision. And from the standpoint of speed of deployment, speed of implementation, cost, because eventually the unit cost becomes lower for all the partners that are interfacing in a specific data center. And then, of course, you take away the traditional burden of each party needing to spend a lot of money, not just to build, but to maintain their own facility, right? So you build and create that marketplace. So that is one of the value you do. So for companies like Inc., who is one of our partner companies in our facility, the fact that within that same facility, they can interface with literally all the submarine cable providers in Nigeria, all the metro fiber providers, long distance providers, the content providers, and then even the over-the-top providers, right, that they need to interface with. It becomes a value that they are benefiting from, just like every other person that is also benefiting from the presence of it in the same facility. So overall, what this does is help promote the digital economy, right? It just creates that marketplace where doing business becomes easier, becomes more efficient, right? And ultimately becomes more cost effective for all the partners involved.
Thank you very much. There's been recent talk of AI, higher demand in terms of processing power, a lot of emphasis now on hyperscale cloud. So I want to draw your attention to hyperscale cloud and data security. So for Inc., how do you deliver, considering the increased demand for processing power and capacity, how do we deliver this hyperscale level of cloud infrastructure to your clients in terms of business continuity, in terms of preparing them and facilitating their future growth and development needs?
To be honest, I think the simple answer to that is, just making sure that you're driving the power of convergence around everything that you do. I think Ike has already mentioned that one of the biggest attractions for us as a business to even have a location or a facility out of Medallion or Digital Realty is really the power of convergence that Medallion as a business brings to bear, right? So to be able to deliver on the aspirations of AI and the power requirements, first of all, you have to start from where we are today. Make sure that all the different aspects of the digital ecosystem are in one place. Because if not, where you're having to rely on a lot of power consumption or power requirements from different locations, that even already becomes a challenge, right? But what we are doing today out of Medallion, for instance, and the convergence that brings already is a step in the right direction. However, I must mention that the artificial intelligence journey or roadmap or technology is really a journey, right? And we're just starting to see some of the benefits today, but it's a journey, right? I know of some markets where we're already talking about, maybe 1 gigawatt, type of data centers, right? Today, I don't think we have any data center that has a total capacity of even 3 digits in terms of megawatts, right? So it's a journey, but we're getting there, but it's not something that has to do with just the data center or the consumption. There are other factors, right? There's policy around this. Data sovereignty, for instance, is one step in that direction. The different ecosystem players, local cloud providers is also a very key requirement. So I believe that at some point in time, I believe we're getting there. There's a lot of innovation across different, segments and sectors of the economy. Corporate innovation is on the rise. We're starting to see a lot of very niche players who are coming into the innovation ecosystem. All of these are going to continue to drive significant, data usage, data consumption. At the end of the day, you can't have all of that accelerated growth in demand for data without having a very secure and reliable place that you need to host and process all of that data, right? So it is a journey, I think is my short answer.
Awesome. So, Ifeanyi just mentioned it's a journey. In terms of the journey, there's several elements that come into it, and it's very dynamic and it's very diverse. For Medallion, in terms of incorporating all these factors together, one that I think really sticks out for everybody in terms of how these complexities are growing is that of data security. So what is Medallion? We know you're very well placed in terms of capacity, but in terms of security specifically, what exactly is Medallion doing to ensure resilience of data, to ensure that this security, you're taking care of this for your clients, not just partners like Inc., but for the actual clients who are resident in your data centers, especially in these times of growing cyber threats that are growing in complexity, not just in number?
Okay, so for Medallion or digital royalty, you know, we are currently trading as digital royalty in Nigeria, right? Our data center is different from some others, right? The reason being that in our data center, because we are extremely carrier neutral, we allow our customers, the ISPs, the content providers, to do their business, right? While we focus on the higher core infrastructure, providing the marketplace, as I've said earlier, providing cooling, power, of course, physical security of your infrastructure, right? Now, when it comes to what I would call virtual or digital security, we don't get involved in customers' infrastructure within our facility. We let the customers handle and manage that, right? But what we also provide is pretty much, we've got our core services, right, which are also digital in nature. For instance, if you want to be able to have your customer account with us, where you go to order your services on the portal and all that, we ensure it's fully secured. Nobody can access your account, for instance, within our portal, right? We make sure it's extremely secured to the nth level, if I may put it that way. But beyond that, what we also have seen, and this is very important, is Nigeria, for instance, probably because of the nature of our digital journey, is actually, from a digital space, one of the extremely cyber aware countries. You will be shocked that even in our banking system and several other entities, because by default it's just assumed that people would want to have unnecessary access into your data, right? The level of data security I've seen, not even now, like 4 or 5 years ago, I used to publish a magazine called Nigeria Data Security Report, you know, for several years. And one of the things we do, working with some partners from Kenya and other countries, pretty much a Pan-African security report we publish. What we see is that compared to other markets, right, very early in the game, Nigeria is one of those countries that was extremely cybersecurity conscious, and a lot of processes, you know, was put in place to actually secure the data, much more than in Europe or North America. We have also spent a lot of time doing business and running stuff. So from a data center standpoint, I think, which is being specific to your question, what we do in Medallion is, one, ensure that the customer portal data is secured. Secondly, which is now becoming very important, but we were already aware of this and we took steps to ensure that whatever data you have is stored locally. So we've been extremely big in data sovereignty. Despite our global nature, we ensure that specific stuff for Nigerian related customers are domiciled and hosted here, right? From a customer account standpoint, right? And then just general ensuring that, for instance, any customer that's got a pipe into our facility, we make sure that your pipe is fully isolated. For instance, you're not going to see a situation where cross-connect are being swapped so that somebody have unnecessary access to another customer's data. So those are all processes internally we do just to secure customers' infrastructure, both the physical as well as the virtual security standpoint.
Thank you for elaborating on that. You also elaborated on Nigeria placing a whole lot higher emphasis on data security. I have a joke in that regard, but I'll keep it for the next for the next episode of this podcast, why that is the case. But you also mentioned a lot of emphasis on data sovereignty, which is going to be a trend going forward. Yeah. However, another trend going forward is going to be a lot of emphasis globally and on this continent on environmental social governance. So in terms of your strategy as a data center, there's a huge role you have to play in terms of sustainability agenda, sustainability strategy, sustainability objectives. What is Medallion doing in that regard?
Very, very big. Digital Reality as a group is a member of pretty much all the global sustainability platforms and forums that is out there, right? So we are very, very big in it, especially in the EMEA region, where sustainability is becoming a key factor. In fact, some of the customers we have is one of the decision making for them, right? They want to see your ECG program and vet it before they even sign up to do business with you. So it's no longer becoming something that is good to have. It's now becoming something you must have if you actually want to attract some very key customers that are very big in that. So locally we do that. For instance, just to be more specific, we got rid of some of our older generators just some months back, right? Because we needed a bigger one, so we had to get rid of the initial ones we had that we ran out of capacity. And we ensured, among all the options we have to get rid of those generators, that we actually handed it over to companies that were going to recycle it, right? People that were converting diesel to gas-powered generators. So among all the options we had to choose that particular company to take over or hand over those generators to, because again, it's part of the ECG plan that we implement. Second part of it is we are working around even some of the power suppliers we have to see if they can introduce renewable energy into the power feed they get. We have a few IPPs trying to supply us power beyond the utility company. And one of the requirements we put in those conversations is that how much of your energy supply to us will come from renewable source, right? That is also very important. We are currently now installing water meters, in our facilities, just to be able to track the water usage, which is also one of the key metrics for sustainability plan, right? And we've gotten to the extent where we are telling staff, don't print it except you must print it, right? Conserve the papers, because the more trees that is cut down to generate papers, the less safe the environment is, right? So we are doing that at our own level. We know the scale here is not what it is in other countries, especially in Europe or North America and all that. But because we are part of a global group, we follow the global practice in this.
Yeah. Amazing stuff. I'm sure Ifeanyi will have something to say to you about business transformation and reducing your paper footprint. I'm sure Inc has one or two solutions that you can deliver to Ike.
Yeah, I think we pride ourselves in things like that. As Peter mentioned, yes, we do indeed have a lot of solutions that speak directly to that. We have actually a product called AI, whose main ethos or purpose is really just to eliminate a lot of demand or paper on paper, right? Yeah. But that's how technology and innovation generally helps address real everyday problems. Yeah. And I think this is something that as an industry, to be honest, one of the things that I haven't seen a lot of is the fact that as an industry, we don't really always come together to have conversations such as this. Very frank talk on some of the ways that as an industry we can actually, introduce tangible change. And what you're mentioning is, as little as it might sound, as little as it may seem, just being able to eliminate, the paper trail and the demands on paper and the cascade effects that has on other things is something that as an industry with innovation, with telecommunication, we should be able to address, not just for Nigeria, but for the continent as a whole.
Absolutely.
And one of the other things that I mentioned, if I just go back a few steps, is on security and cybersecurity in general. Nigeria right now is challenged with the issue of brain drain, right? And where it comes to our industry, the data center industry or the telecommunication industry is actually going through a journey. There's an evolution happening right before our eyes. Every day we are getting closer to telecommunication industry being the platform that around which all other sectors have to rely on for distribution. Whether you're looking at things around, content distribution or financial services, digital inclusion and financial inclusion. As pivotal as it is, and with the brain drain that we are seeing in the nation, I'm not exactly sure, and this is something of a concern for me, that we're doing enough in terms of making sure that we have the production rails to produce as many, digital talent as possible to fill the gap that we are seeing as a nation, right? I'm just worried about that, that, if we continue at this pace without going backwards to make sure that particular, flow is continuously, fueled properly, we might get to a situation where it becomes very expensive to, cater to some of the threats that we see as an industry, and that's something that worries me.
That's amazing insights. In fact, you preempted my next question, which is there's another type of, we talk about cybersecurity. There's another type of security, which is what you're alluding to, talent security. How does Inc., as a technology provider, with the current trends in the Jackpot syndrome, exit of a lot of our technology talents to other countries, what strategies do you have in place? Because you're the custodian of that strategy to ensure that that talent pipeline is continuously fueled and we do not have a shortage. Because if we're going to talk about hyperscale, we're going to talk about ESG, we're going to talk about all these complexities, the needs of this country, of this continent, especially with all the complexities in the economy, we need to sort of have the talents that can leverage the infrastructure you have on ground at Medallion, that can leverage the technologies that Inc. is providing to the market. But there is this pressure, and it's a huge risk to the economy. I call it talent security, but what strategies does Inc. have in place to ensure that talent security is sort of, any risk to that is well managed?
Our shareholders have interest in so many varying aspects of the industry as a whole. And the benefit of that to us as a business is that we're able to see what the trends are, where the trends are going, and how we remain relevant, in that trend of things. Specifically to your question, I think for talent is not something that any organization will be able to address as a single entity. It is an industry-wide, it's a present-day danger, if you don't address it properly. But as a business, I think what we have done well is transition from just being a connectivity organization to a technology company, right? So a digital technology company, if I may be a bit more specific. And some of the things that we are doing that are very, very relevant and very current, whether you look at automation and also ensuring that we bring in talent, we ensure that there's actually talent progression even within the organization itself. That some of the more technology advanced resources and leaders within the business are able to make sure that there's transfer of skills within the organization, right? And also to try and figure out a way to instill the concept of aspirational career development, right? And what I mean by this is we have had instances where, people are given the opportunity to move from one function to the other, right? Just to be able to expand their horizon and giving the right levels of guidance and mentorship to say, you want to be able to transition to this. However, maybe what you're trying to transition to will not be relevant in today's or tomorrow's technological future. So I think that mentorship and coaching is very fundamental, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody wants to see that they're part of something that is relevant and something that is also relevant for not just today, but also for the future. So I think mentorship is important, but I don't think it's enough. right? I think that as a nation, the bigger play for me is that as a nation, we need to really identify areas of development that are very peculiar to us, right? A lot of times, I think that we chase after global, bus trends, and I think that we need to, because there's some catching up that needs to happen at the end of the day. Are we really at a place where robotics in healthcare, for instance, is the most pressing demand in our country? Maybe not, right? There are a lot of other areas that I don't think that the specific industries have come out to specifically say this is the way or this is the direction that this particular industry is going in, whether it's in telecommunication, whether it's in healthcare. And let's identify the specific need areas for those specific industries. And then as a nation, cascade and make sure that that's alignment and connection between industry and academia is firmly tied up, right? Because if you don't do that, I don't think that industries alone will be able to produce sufficient pipeline to support the industry's talent demands. Right now, I'm not sure that that linkage is strong enough, and as a result, the academic institutions might not be producing the right talent that the industry is looking out for. So that gap is something that we definitely need to bridge as a matter of urgency.
But let's take that a little bit further. Let's just unpack that a little bit further. I think when all these things you mentioned have been in place, right coaching, right mentorship, right positioning for future technology trends, what tends to happen is as soon as these talents go through that learning curve, somebody from, I won't mention any name in any country in Europe or America or Asia, just scoops them up and gives them, is it a remuneration thing?
I would like to address that before you finish. There's this joke that always make the rounds. I think it was a CFO, no pun intended, a CFO and a CEO having a conversation, and it's and it was about training, yes. The expense on training. The CFO was saying, what if we train these people and they leave, which is what you're talking about, mm-hmm. And the CEO was like, what if we don't train them and they stay? Mm-hmm. The impact of that is that you don't train people and they stay, but they are not productive. The cost is even higher, right? Where you would require maybe one very exceptional talent or trained person to deliver on a certain outcome that the business demand, you would have to overcompensate by maybe hiring 4 people, right? You would have actually been able to forestall against this by training sufficiently. Migration and professional migration will always be a thing, right? It will not stop today, right? But however, one thing that ultimately I think will be very fulfilling for me, for Inc. as a business, is that we become that place where, people know that even if they want to find talent, go to Inc., you will find the right kind of talent. Let's be that platform where people actually want to coach our people, rather than our people are not even, marketable because they are not trained.
This is very insightful stuff. So the challenge is for us to create that enabling environment where the talents can develop, so that even if they leave, any talent that comes through will definitely develop. Amazing stuff. Thank you very much. Ike, now over to you. Hyperscale. Back to the hyperscale discussion. There's been a lot of emphasis on hyperscale cloud. A lot of the players have tended, before Medallion stepped into the arena to establish a firm hyperscale local presence in Nigeria, a lot of the providers have been foreign. So there's this drive now, there's data sovereignty, the economy is doing its own magic and companies have to adjust. In terms of the local hyperscale provision, what are the main advantages that companies in Nigeria have to gain from coming to digital reality and harnessing your hyperscale facilities rather than that's coming from Europe or America?
So it's a combination of several factors coming up about the same time, right? One, you've got regulatory provisions now. where data sovereignty is now becoming a regulatory issue. Whether you are in the financial sector, healthcare, even hospitality, right? Where you show up to book or register in a hotel, traditionally they would ask you for your data to register you in. Now, all of a sudden, it's becoming important how that data is not just collected, stored, and used post your stay in the hotel. Something as basic as that, right? So it's becoming a regulatory issue, which means that once it's a regulatory issue, it's no longer optional for you as a business to follow these policies, right? So we are seeing that happen, which means by default, you are, I don't want to say forced, but you are mandated, right, to put your stuff locally, irrespective of the facility, whether it's on-prem, where you build your own infrastructure, or you go to a third party, like facilities like ours, right? So it's becoming that. But beyond the regulatory provision, that's why I said several things are coming together about the same time. Suddenly, companies that used to, I remember during COVID, a lot of companies were in trouble because they suddenly found out they couldn't make payments to their foreign hosting companies. Because during COVID, part of the challenge was the banking system was not working well. CBN came up with a new policy in terms of what you can use your Nigerian-based cards to do, right? So it became a problem that you want to do it, but you don't even have the means or the ability to pay for foreign hosting services anymore, purely based on the dollarization policy that the CBN was trying to enforce, right? And that has continued now. In fact, those policies are even getting serious by the day, right? Going forward, trying to strengthen the Naira and all that. So you also have a problem where suddenly you are not even able to pay for the service hosted outside, just because you are generating your revenue in local currency and you don't have the ability to now pay for it using foreign currency as you used to do in the past, right? So that's also another issue. But over and above all this, whether there is a regulatory provision that mandates you to do it, whether you even have issues with ability to pay or not, the bigger issue we are beginning to see now is the nature of services being rolled out. Most of them require low latency. Most of them require the service being offered from a facility closer to the end user, purely because of the nature of the service being offered.
Yeah.
A lot of the services coming up now are those type. That's why 5G is not available, because 5G is a platform that a lot of the services that run on it needs low latency.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So we are beginning to see that from a technology as well as service availability standpoint, it's naturally becoming obvious for you to have the right quality of service. Your infrastructure have to be localized, right? So if you, there are several others, but let me just restrict it to these three for the sake of time, right? So if you look at all this coming together, what we are beginning to see is now adoption and recognition that there is a need to use a locally available data center or infrastructure for multiple reasons, right? Now, if you now go beyond it to understand the concept of the cloud, which is where people are beginning to find out that it's cheaper, more efficient for them to actually run their services out of the cloud than the traditional on-prem server type stuff where every 2 years you have to replace your whole infrastructure. It becomes obsolete based on technology. You can't scale the way you want to scale. Suddenly, we are now getting to the point where local cloud is becoming the next big thing, right? There was a time a few years ago where the government, through the relevant ICT agencies, we are trying to push that every service should move to the cloud. And luckily, it didn't take time before it was modified that it should move not just to the cloud, but a local cloud. In other words, the cloud has to be local in Nigeria, right? For a lot of reasons. Security is one, data sovereignty, quality of the service. which probably trumps every other thing, because if the service is available but the quality is very bad, the user experience is bad, so you can't even have any need for it, right? So all this is coming together to now make it almost inevitable that any company that is not operating its service either in the cloud, and if that cloud is not being offered from a locally available infrastructure in a data center within Nigeria, you're not going to be optimizing your operations. So we are beginning to see that, and that is what is now pushing and driving some of the new development we are seeing in the data center space. The direct result of that is global hyperscalers are now beginning to see the need to actually put a local version of their cloud in Nigeria. But the good part also from where I'm sitting is that not only global hyperscalers, we're actually beginning to see local Nigerian entities trying to ask, how can we actually build these things ourselves? I'm beginning to see a lot of Nigerian entities trying to, people that traditionally would be hosting companies, but buy capacity from a foreign entity, now saying, what does it actually take for us to localize this thing? I'm beginning to see a lot of development in that space, which is positive.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll just follow through on that. Digital reality / Medallion, you're known for exceptional customer service, customer support. As you've expanded and more customers start to come on board, how do you plan to scale in terms of maintaining that same quality of exceptional customer support to a much wider base of clients?
Three things happens with that, and this is probably one of the big advantage of being part of Digital Royalty Group. It comes with not just finance to build bigger facility, but it also comes with operational expertise, much more than what we had in the old Medallion, way more than what we had in the old Medallion, right? And that's a big advantage and value, right? So what we're doing is we're addressing the issue of capacity by building bigger, newer facilities, right? We're addressing the issue of support by optimizing our facility to a great extent. You know, when I look back over the last maybe 15 years and see the trend we've gone, sometimes I laugh, because 15 years ago, what we need to do is we used to have about maybe 6 to 8 staff running a shift, right? In a small loss one data center, very tiny small facility that was a rundown supermarket we converted, right? Not even a purpose-built facility, right? So we used to do that. We had a lot of youth corpers and all those guys supporting the shift. What were they doing? Because literally, as at that time, every 30 minutes, a number of people have to go around all the customer equipment to check and be sure it's operating optimally, temperature, physical, and all that stuff, right? Now we don't do that anymore. Now we've got sensors, Internet of Things all over the facility that gives you this data. So what you see then is you see 2 or 3 engineers sitting in the control room, and they are getting all this data real time. Some of it actually gets to key staff phones. On their phone, they can actually get some of this data and parameters, right? That is utilizing technology to optimize your operation. So because we've included technology into our facility, it has made even supporting the customers from a technical standpoint a lot easier. The new facilities we are building is going to be AI enabled, right? Which means we can actually drive more data out of them. We can do preventive maintenance because the AI features will let us know, hey, this generator is going to go bad by so and so time. Not just this generator, but components within the generators, right? So that is going to enhance the ability to be proactive. You know when you need to get spares, not that it has come and you are running all over the world looking for spares, right? So that is using technology even within the data center to run it, right? In terms of customer support, as we've said, we now have the portals where customers can actually on their own go and order services, right? The portal would actually generate invoice for you, right? So this again makes it easier because what you now see is each customer can literally self-provision their service. But the reality is technology has actually made running data centers much easier, more efficient, and actually more cost effective at the same time. And this is the benefit of applying technology even in data center.
Oh, thank you very much, Ike. Talking about exponential increases in efficiency, there's a lot of talk about these days, AI, machine learning, and how this just exponentially increases efficiencies for industries. How is Inc. leveraging these technologies to provide services to your clients? We know you have some AI and machine learning IPs. How are you finding it in terms of evangelizing these solutions in the industry today?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things that I was even mentioning around automation. Automation would really have no hope without, artificial intelligence and machine learning. I mean, we do also have, automation platforms. We have a platform called Ink Fabric that is specifically designed for exactly that. Making sure that, businesses have very low touch points with their service providers, right? Where you're able to go into a platform and in 3 clicks or 5 clicks at the most, you're able to automate the connectivity requirements. That's something that we are starting to roll out in the industry gradually. I believe we already have an instance of that out of Medallion facilities and a few other facilities. But Peter, back to your question. Yes, indeed, we do see artificial intelligence and machine learning as the growth pathway for Inc. And you're right, we do have some IPs in that regard. We have a very strong, robust development team. I think probably about 700 people strong out of India.
Wow.
And scattered around all of our other businesses on the continents as well, whose main mandate is to, continue to engage with our various customers. And I think at the last count, we probably have over 3,000 of that. The benefits of that to our business specifically is that we're able to get, very specific and very niche problem sets that we're able to adapt, our AI and machine learning solutions and algorithms to. We have a few of them that are already flagship products that we are deploying in several African countries, solving different problems. Whether it's problems around even as basic as just attendance monitoring, finding areas for leakages, in several industries, whether it's we are speaking to energy distribution environment, or we are speaking to manufacturing. In some instances, our systems, our AI and machine learning systems have been, the difference in a business declaring profitability or actually closing shop, out of the huge cost of running a business without our AI and machine learning systems. So that's something that I definitely believe would be a growth area for us. It's something that we've already deployed. And before other players and competitors begin to play catch up, I think it's something that will definitely drive forward towards advancing and make sure that it becomes a household technology. One of them is Vision AI, which essentially is just a combination of artificial intelligence systems and camera systems for different use cases. They've been deployed for drone applications, they've been deployed in manufacturing, they've been deployed in oil and gas. That particular solution is gaining a lot of traction, right, as we speak. And we have a few others. So AI and machine learning definitely is a big space for us. It's one that we are going to continue to pay attention to. It's one that we're going to continue to make sure that we also evolve our talent in that direction as well. And talent here, I'm not just talking about engineering talent, I'm also speaking to even the commercial side of our business to make sure that our people are skilled up, are very knowledgeable in that industry and in that space for us to be able to take maximum advantage of that solution.
Awesome stuff. Yeah. Awesome stuff. We've had a very insightful conversation. Thank you both. But let me just round up with one question to both of you, and it's around two visionary leaders, two very impactful companies in Nigeria in the technology space, and there's a lot of collaboration going on and partnership. So for both of you, and I'll have Ike go first, how do you see the impact of this partnership between Inc. and Digital Reality in terms of the impact it's had on Nigeria as well as other African countries, on the footprints on the continent, and then where do you see it progressing to in the near future?
Yeah, thanks. That's a very important question. Initially, the relationship was basically customer-vendor. That's where we started, where Inc. Came into our facility as one of the service providers, right? As I said, to be part of the marketplace that exists. But what we later saw is that the more we understood the bouquet of services and solutions that Inc. has, they actually became one of our priority customers. You know, earlier on, we had a challenge where a facility we had was running out of space based on the pipeline we had, and we had to start prioritizing customers to allocate space in. And Inc. clearly was one of the customers. We said, hey, once we get a request from them, we need to prioritize it because of what they bring, not to the facility, right? They add value to the facility, not just they pay the bills for what they use, right? So, and ultimately it has grown. We just work together to deliver the Huawei cloud, which at a point was becoming a very difficult process until Inc. got involved. In fact, literally over a weekend, Inc. solved the problem that was lasting for some months. So that is the benefit of it. And not just in Nigeria, our team in South Africa, Terraco, which today is the biggest data center provider in Africa, would also tell you that they have a very, very strong strategic relationship with Inc. that again goes beyond the customer-vendor type relationship. It's about collaboration. It's about building the marketplace, right? It's about when a customer comes to us and makes a demand from us, without understanding that, as I said, as a career-neutral provider, there are some services we don't go into, right? What we would traditionally do is look for partners within our facility and channel such to, and that's what we've been doing. As I said, when the Huawei opportunity came and some of the things they demanded from us was not what we do, we reached out to Inc. and say, hey, we've got this service, and by all means they delivered on it, right? So we've seen that, and our expectation is that this partnership or collaboration will continue.
Awesome. So Ifeanyi, very gracious words there from Ike. What's your take in terms of the partnership with Digital Reality from the supermarket space days to the hyperscale today?
I think that as an industry, no industry grows without, sufficient storytelling, right? And I don't think that as an industry, and I'm sure you know this, we haven't done a fantastic job of telling our stories. Something that he has mentioned in passing about because I was aware of Medallion in those days. The startups of today tell an amazing story of their grass to grace story. This particular story is a story that I'm very passionate about, and I think that we probably would set up another event where we actually unpack that.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of learning to take from that. Yeah. But back to the partnership conversation. Partnership is something that is so important for phenomenal business growth, regardless of the sector you're operating in. And if you don't get your partnership right, I don't see how you'll be able to grow in a sustainable way. You know, for me, he may not even be aware, but he's been dropping a number of very important points. And the main one is career neutral, right? You go into a lot of partnership, and if you don't have trust as the bedrock of that partnership,
Absolutely.
you know, you're only just going to be, you know, riding the wave. With Medallion, one thing that, you know, gives us a lot of comfort is the level of trust that we have,
Absolutely.
you know, in doing business with Medallion, that we won't be doing business with people who potentially also be trying to outmaneuver us or outcompete with us, right? I think that's fundamental. A lot of businesses don't partner well. It's not peculiar to Nigeria. They say one thing and they do another. You know, so for me, doing business with, you know, Medallion is something that is very key to Inc.'s business of today, but also to Inc.'s business of tomorrow, right? As he has mentioned, we've just finalized and already executing on the first, you know, hyperscale cloud or infrastructure or environment in Nigeria, and it's just day one, right? It's just day one. There's so many miles to go on that journey. How we unpack that, you know, how we work together to, you know, focus on the things that are of interest to both organizations, especially when you look at, you know, managed services and all the value-adding services to data center environments. I think that we are in a very unique position as a business and as a partnership to deliver on very, very ambitious projects. You know, so like I said, I think it's day one. Absolutely. And I can only look forward to the future.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm sure our audience has found it really, really insightful to listen to two giants, two captains of industry, two visionaries in this global technology market. We're very grateful, and we look forward to subsequent episodes when we'll be looking at the grass to grey stories of how these technology businesses started at a supermarket or in a garage and is now on hyperscale level. We'll also be talking to other captains of industry, technical directors, so look out for those next episodes. But thank you, gentlemen. It's been a very insightful discussion, very exciting discussion, not just for me personally, but for those who are listening as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's been a very exciting episode of The Inquisitor. We've had very exciting discussions with Ikechukwu Nnamani from Digital Reality, as well as Ifeanyi Akosionu, CEO of Inc. Nigeria and Anglophone West Africa. We've talked about everything from artificial intelligence to data centers to data security, and it's been very exciting for not just me, but for the audience as well. So please tune in next time when we have more exciting and insightful discussions with more captains of industry in this space, not just in Nigeria, in Africa, but the entire world. Thank you very much.